Hello there. In this video I'm going to talk about the jewellery design courses we have available in London, in Pinner actually, northwest London, Harrow area. We offer a range of one-day classes in which you can learn how to create bracelets using our software, Fluid Designer for 3D printing. We also have a one-day class in which you can learn how to make earrings, and also a one-day class for pendant design, and also a one-day class in creating simple rings, not quite as perhaps complicated as the ones that are shown here. If you're interested in doing one of our courses, we do recommend that you go to our website at fluiddesigner.co.uk, and if you go to the downloads page, so just click on the menu downloads, you can download our software completely free of charge. It's called Fluid Designer for 3D printing, but it's actually based on a piece of software called Blender, and Blender is open source software, and it's probably the most widely used software for creating objects that are 3D printed. Once you've downloaded the software onto your machine, you could always go to our Fluid Designer videos page and have a look at some of the exercises that are there. That gets you into the basics of using Fluid Designer. And if you are interested in enrolling on one of our courses, if you just go to the Jewellery Design course page, you'll see the various courses that we've got listed. Designing pendants, designing rings, designing bracelets, designing earrings. You can just click on the Buy Now button and enroll on a course. Or if you want to study all of them, you can do our 10-week course, which is just 2 hours a week on a Friday afternoon, and you can learn how to design pendants, bracelets, rings, etc. Before you come to one of our classes, if you do decide to enroll, we would advise that you actually do download the software and get it installed on your computer, because you will need to bring your laptop along to actually do the class, and it's much better if you've actually got the software already on your machine rather than us spending time installing it for you. But we are quite prepared to do that if you're not able to do it yourself. Once you've got the software up and running, your opening screen should look something like this. So this is what the Fluid Designer user interface looks like. And if you come on one of our one-day courses, the morning session, the first part of the morning session will be taken up by explaining the user interface. So like all applications, you've got pull-down menus, so you can view objects from different angles. You can add objects to the workspace. Now the two key objects that you add are meshes, and there are different types of meshes that you can add: cubes and cylinders and spheres, and curves. Now in the morning session we'll introduce you to working with meshes, and in the afternoon session we'll introduce you to working with curves, which are much more powerful. We'll also explain other parts of the user interface. So for example, there's the property window here, so if we drag an object, for example, from the browser onto the workspace, you'll see that the properties window opens up, and in the properties window you can see the dimensions of the object, and you can also use what are called modifiers to make changes, quick changes to the objects, and we'll explain some of the modifiers that are available. In terms of the user interface again, over here is the browser window, and here you can see there are lots of objects, and as you see I've just dragged one of them onto the workspace. I'll leave it there at the moment, but these are all basically template files which I've created previously, and they all allow you to create, in this case, pendants, but also earrings, bracelets, rings, and connectors. Connectors are basically rings that you would add to your object where you could put a chain through. Another part of the user interface is this panel here. It's the outline window, and this details which objects are currently on your workspace. There's also a help panel on the screen, and what we'd like to do is add information with each object to explain how you can actually use it. So that's essentially the user interface. If I just close this down a little bit now, and I'll just switch this panel off as well. So what we've got on the screen there is a mesh, and as I've already said, in the morning session we'll introduce you to using meshes. So this object could be a pendant that's printed, and it's not quite finished yet because there isn't a connector on the top, there isn't a ring for you to put your chain through, but that can easily be added. So what is it about this mesh that's important? Well, first of all, if I just go back to view and top, you'll see there's a grey area at the moment, and if I just move the object out of the way, what we've got in the background is an image, and this is just an image that's been taken from the internet, and it's just a pattern, and we've just basically copied around that pattern to create this object here. And if I just tilt it again, this object is actually printable, and it's essentially nothing more than a cube that's been dragged out, extruded as we call it technically, into this particular shape. So if I press the tab key and go into edit mode, you can see the parts of the mesh now. So if I click on this little dot here, you can see I've got some arrows, and I can actually drag that point there and change the shape of my object. And notice it also changes the shape in the other corners as well, because this part is being mirrored, it's being copied into the other four corners. And this is one of the powerful features of using computers to create jewellery, that you can replicate patterns very quickly. So say in the morning session we'll introduce you to working with meshes. Here we're working with the vertices, but if I click the right mouse button we can work with faces, and this is actually much more powerful, because if I click on a face here, what we can do is we can expand it outwards, and as I expand that outwards I'm actually changing the object in the other four corners as well. And so this is how the pattern has been built up, by extruding it, by extracting it outwards to create my object. And so starting off with a simple cube, you can generate complex objects and beautiful designs. Now this object in itself is not finished. As I've said, there isn't a connector at the top here, there isn't a ring where you can put a chain through. And we would also probably want to smooth this off. This is a bit sharp at the moment. So one of the things we'll show you on the course is how you can tidy this up, make it nice and smooth, how you can put a connector on the top, and how you can actually also save the file in a suitable format for printing. So we would export it in a OBJ or an STL format if we actually wanted to print this. So say the morning session you will learn about working with meshes and the different things that you can do with meshes, and hopefully by the end of the morning you'll be able to recreate patterns similar to this one. And as I've already said, if you go to the top there, you can actually draw the patterns yourself. If you've got any, you can bring them along, and we'll show you how you can actually create a mesh which is then printable based on the pattern that you've got. If you don't have your own patterns, that's not a problem, we'll provide some for you. So in the morning session, that's what you look at, meshes. If I just close that down now. Now in the afternoon session we'll introduce you to something a little bit more powerful than meshes, and that is working with curves. And if I just drag and drop this object onto the workspace and just move this panel out of the way. So here's another pendant, and again it's not quite complete because it hasn't got a connector on it, but what you'll see is that it is also a copy of a pattern that features below it. So I can just drag it out of the center there, or put it back. If I wanted to complete this object, I'd want to add a connector to it. Well, that's pretty straightforward. If I just go to File and Append, and if I just look for my connectors folders, I can add a wire connector and just append that. So I've just added that one to my object here. And if I just now highlight the two objects and just join them together, I've now got my pendant with a connector at the top where the chain can fit through. So very quick and very easy. Now as part of the course we'll show you how you can actually create your own connectors, and how you can create your own pendant designs like this one using curves. And they are essentially on the Add menu, and this object is essentially made up of circles, NURBS circles, and NURBS paths. I'll show you another example of this. If we just go to File and New again, and if I just scroll down, Now, a lot of our objects here are basically templates that we can use to create other objects. So these designs here, these Korean style pendants, can be created from this object here. So this is basically a template. It's just an outline of a pendant. Okay, so you've just got the general outline of a pendant, and what we've done is we've added some NURBS circles and some NURBS paths. So we've just used this menu option here for NURBS circles. That creates these circles. These circles have then been changed into these shapes, and we've done that for you, so just to make life easy essentially, because what we can do is, if we just zoom in a little bit, we can relocate an object like that. This is a NURBS curve, put it into the center of the pendant, and I can drag lots and lots of other objects here and put those in as well, but I'm just going to stick with the circle at the moment, and just show you what you can quickly do with this. If we go into edit mode and just click on that point there, it's what's called a control point. If I just move that slightly, and then if I just click on the one at the top and move that out, you can see I can very quickly change my circle into a heart shape. And with the heart shape still highlighted, if I go to Tools, Object Tools, and duplicate it, and I just move it out slightly, and then if I just reposition this one slightly, and I do need to have them sort of overlapping and also touching the edge of this object, and if I just I'll just duplicate it again and just reposition that one. Okay, so I've just created 3 heart-shaped curves. They're curves at the moment in the center of my pendant, and if I just hold down the Shift key and highlight all 3 of them, I can join them together. And then if I just join them to the pendant itself, so I'm just holding down the Shift key and highlighting the pendant itself, and if I join them with the pendant itself now, I've now got a solid object made up of those 3 heart shapes in the center of my pendant, and this object can now be printed. So you can see how powerful this is. I've very quickly and easily added objects to the center of my pendant here, and created a new pendant. So again, if I just go back to my opening menu, my user interface, these pendants here have been created from this master. And so this is one of the great features of Fluid Designer for 3D printing, that you can have this user interface, and here we've got pendant designs, but in addition to pendants we've got some ring designs which can be drag and dropped onto the workspace and modified to create different sorts of rings. Bracelets also, so we've got lots and lots of bracelet designs. Now these don't all come with Fluid Designer, these are designs that we've actually created, and if you come on one of our courses, we'll show you how you can actually create these objects yourself. So here, for example, this is what you'll probably learn how to do if you come on our bracelet course. Here's a basic bracelet outline which we've applied a pattern to, and we'll show you how you can actually create this using curves. So it's NURBS circles and NURBS paths, plus some options on the properties panel here, and you can create a bracelet. And in the same way that we've just changed the pattern on the other one, we could change this pattern here. Let me just I'll just zoom in on it. Okay, so whoops. So again, you can see that the pattern can be changed. It doesn't quite fit as it is there, so we need to adjust it and size it so that it did fit on the bracelet. We can actually change the bracelet size as well. So I can make the bracelet deeper. Okay, so very quickly and very easily you can modify the bracelet and modify the pattern. So I'll just make the pattern a bit bigger and just reposition it on the bracelet. So these are the sorts of things that you'll learn if you come on one of our courses. Okay, hope to see you. Thank you.